Hello, Facebook family,
Hello, Facebook family.
YouTube family, and wherever this video will take us. I'm Jeff. It's my wife, Tammy.
Tammy.
We're the Robinsons. We're going to talk about the hashtag walk away.
Walk away.
My wife, she introduced this campaign to me. I hadn't heard anything about it. I spent a fair amount of time on social media, and I saw a few things, but just didn't pay attention to it. And then one day she told me she was watching some videos and found this excellent hashtag walkaway campaign. So we want to tell our story. Just average Americans out there telling their story about their departure from the Democratic Party. And I'll let her go first, and then I'll come back with you.
Well, let's see. It started when I was 18 years old. I was excited about voting. I was a senior in high school, and so it was a voting year. And I caught the bus home, ran into the house, and asked my parents, "How do we vote?" Because I knew it was Republican, Democrat. So I said, "How do we vote?" And my mom says, "We vote Democrat." So I got back in the car, went to the voting booth, and I just voted straight Democrat. And I believe it was Jesse Jackson that was running for president that year. So that's basically the extent of me being a Democrat. Very short time for that, because based on my Christian beliefs, causes me to be conservative, because what the Bible says and what I believe in, this helps me and propels me in how I vote. So you can kind of say I never was, maybe it was a small walk away, I guess it was, but we've always been conservative because of our biblical beliefs. And I'm kind of excited about this walk away campaign that I stumbled upon, because we do want truth to prevail. We want truth on all levels: political truth, biblical truth, all truth. And so we are excited about it, and we're going to tell more people about it. And I think my husband said, well, let's do our own. So that is my walk away, or never was, and based on my conservative beliefs, because I believe that it lines up more with my Christian beliefs as well. So that's how I feel about it. And take it away, husband.
It just, I think it's important. It's something that we were saying, because we're Christians. We're Christians first. Our Christianity comes before our identity, our blackness, if you will.
Sure.
And in America, you know, they're just so color struck. It's either white or it's either black or brown and all of these
Exactly.
things. But our Christianity, our belief and faith in Jesus Christ is eternal. Our blackness is temporary. This is who we are. We're not ashamed of our blackness. We're not embarrassed about our blackness.
Not at all.
You know, it comes down to melanin. It really is a silly argument, this whole racial thing. It comes down to melanin. All melanin is, when you put it under a microscope, is brown. It's tan. And so some people have more melanin and other people have less. And if you have no melanin, you're albino. This is a scientific proof. And then the Bible certainly tells us that out of one blood, in Acts chapter 17, Paul was talking to the smart folks in Athens, the philosophers, and he told them that out of one blood, out of one man, God made all nations to dwell upon the face of the earth. So this whole racial argument back and forth is ridiculous.
Sad.
But when I heard about the hashtag walkaway campaign, and she mentioned it, she said, well, let's tell our story. And I said, well, I tell my story. I said, I would change the name of the campaign. It would be the hashtag never was, because I never was a Democrat. Obviously, many of the members of my family are Democrats.
Sure.
But even as a young man, I grew up and I just knew when Jimmy Carter ran for president, so like, there's something about that guy, just don't. And of course, I'm going from a totally uninformed position.
Sure.
Yes, I was going by my gut. A lot of people do that nowadays, you know.
Sure.
And even as a young man, I thought, just something about that Jimmy Carter that I don't like. I used to watch him on TV and hear some of the things he said and his policies. I didn't agree with him. And when Ronald Reagan ran for president, I just thought that there's something, I like what he's saying. I like what I'm hearing. It's matching my beliefs,
right,
my core values.
Right.
We were listening to another hashtag walkaway video, and an individual was talking about his core values. It's not about the Democratic Party or the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
It's about core values.
Absolutely.
And if you have core values, whichever party is closer aligned to those values, that's naturally who you're going to go with. So as a young man, I didn't pay too much attention to politics, you know, in high school. once when I graduated when I was 18 in 1979. That's a long time ago, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Not that
No,
long.
it's
Anyway, I wasn't too much paying attention to politics, but I voted for Reagan in his second term. And by 1984, I was more aware of politics, started paying attention, and Ronald Reagan was the first president that I voted for. I registered as a Republican, and I've been a registered Republican ever since. So I've never been a Democrat because I never agreed with their views. What shapes my views are, again, the Bible, biblical views, our views, biblical views. But then also, they did a strange thing to me when I was in elementary school. They taught me how to read. It's a dangerous,
really?
it's a dangerous thing to teach someone how to read. And so when I was younger, I didn't necessarily like reading. I skipped all my book reports in school and didn't want to do it. But as I grow older, I regretted that because you can learn a lot by just reading.
Absolutely.
So I began to do research. I began to study. I'm just that kind of individual. I do that with the Bible. I read the Bible. I read the books of the theologians. I read history, science. And so I read, and I just started to do my own research on the Republican and the Democratic Party. After a while, and I've read their platforms. You know, all political parties have platforms. You have the Communist Party USA, they have a platform, but unfortunately, 95% of their platform matches the Democratic platform. So I read the Democratic platform, I read the Republican platform, I read the Constitution Party's platform, I read history, I read the Constitution, and all of those things. And I come to find that I have more in common with the Republican Party: conservatism, capitalism, patriotism. We love this. We love our country. Family.
Yes.
This is the greatest nation on the face of the earth.
Yes.
We all have our problems.
Yes.
As Christians, we believe the Bible teaches that all of us are sinners.
Yes.
The Bible teaches that there is none good, no, not one. So all of us are flawed. All of us have problems. And this country is made up of individuals, and individuals have problems.
Yes.
But this country is the greatest country on the face of the earth with its constitutions. We're a nation of laws. We're not a nation of, the founders didn't give us a democracy. They guaranteed us a republic. So we're a nation of laws. The Constitution is not a racist document.
No.
And so I started to study and research. I looked at the Democratic Party and their foundings under Andrew Jackson in the 1820s. And then I looked at the Republican Party and its foundings, founded by freed slave and also white abolitionists who were against slavery. The Democratic Party was in favor of slavery. And while I'm on that slavery point, America didn't invent slavery. Slavery has been around since the fall. But then also in America, slavery was imposed upon America by Britain. Because remember, this nation started as colonists, and slavery was imposed upon this nation. And so then when the founders set about to gain their freedoms from Britain, then they started to look and say, well, how can we cry for our freedom when there are millions of black citizens or black individuals, at that time they weren't citizens, black individuals who are in slavery who want their freedom? How can the founders say, how can we demand our rights and freedoms when we have people in slavery? So they set about to establish that and abolish it. And certainly by 1854, when the Republican Party was founded, it was founded to end slavery. I mean, to do away with it, and that was the Republicans. Then, of course, when they started passing legislation, the 13th Amendment, passed by Republicans, and Republicans in Congress and the Senate, the 14th Amendment, that basically ended slavery and gave slaves the rights of citizenship, passed by Republicans, opposed by Democrats. 15th Amendment, passed, I believe, in 1870, passed by Republicans, opposed by Democrats. Then all throughout Reconstruction, from 1867 to 1877, legislation passed by Republicans, blacks, freed slaves became politicians and doctors and lawyers and landowners and business owners and free thinkers and educators. And then, of course, after 1877, and I forget the Great Compromise. I think that's what it was. And it was another close presidential race, you know, like the ones we've had under Bush, Gore, you know, Clinton, what's his name, Trump. So, yeah, and so there was a compromise, and unfortunately things turned around, and all of the Jim Crow laws from the 1890s, all of the Jim Crow laws were passed by Southern Democrats. You know what drives me crazy is when you have these talking heads on TV, MSNBC, CNN, who are always blaming racism on America. No, you need to lay the blame where it was. It was Democrats, white Southern Democrats, and many also Northern Democrats who were in favor of slavery. And also the Jim Crow laws, all of them were passed by Democrats. Just put the blame where it is. Belongs. And it's not all of America. It's not all whites.
Right.
It's certain groups of whites, and usually the Democratic Party. And then of course they say, well, they'll agree, and they'll say, well, yeah, all of those Republicans, all of those Democrats, there was a great switch. They talk about the big switch where all of those racist Democrats became Republicans. And again, silly notions. Other people on the walkaway or the hashtag walkaway campaign have discussed that, and it never happened. There is no Southern strategy, big switch, and all of that stuff. So I just did my research, and I advise you to do yours.
Yes.
Take
time to do research.
I never was a Democrat, and you don't even have to go back to the 1960s and 70s and before that, in the Jim Crows, you know, from 1890 all the way up to 1964 Civil Rights Act and 1965 Voting Rights Act. You don't have to go that far. You can look and see what the Democrats are doing today.
Exactly.
The Democrats with their Antifa, who oppose and come against blacks. Candace Owens was just assaulted. Candace Owens and her associate, I think Charles, I forget Charles' last name, they were attacked in Philadelphia and many other areas where the Antifa and Democrats in the past, the Democrats, they had war on the blacks during slavery and Jim Crow. Now Democrats have war against Christians. They don't want Christians to have their Christian beliefs and views. They have a war against the womb, children in the womb, with abortion. They have a war against First Amendment rights, because it seems like the Democratic Party feel like they're the only ones who have a right to speak. But if you're black and conservative, or if you're gay and conservative, if you're another so-called minority group and conservative, you don't have a right to speak. But the Democrats can voice their views and opinions. So the Democratic Party has been, we believe, and I think during my research, has been a problem in America since their foundings. And I'm glad, my wife and I are glad, it's a prayer answered, that more and more people are waking up and turning away from the Democratic Party. You don't have to become a Republican. Again, there's independents out there. There's a Constitution Party. As a matter of fact, we didn't vote for Trump.
Vote for Donald Trump.
Because initially I didn't think he was conservative enough. He was a Democrat. His own children couldn't vote for him in the primary because they were still registered Democrats. So I thought, he's not conservative. I was thinking they were bringing him in to destroy the conservative movement.
That's what we thought.
But I like what Trump is doing now. And you know what? In 2020, we'll vote for him. So yes, we said it. And we'll vote for him. And I'll admit, I didn't vote for him in the beginning. I voted the Constitution Party.
We did.
Darrell Castle. So someone would say, you probably didn't even know what his name was. Yes, his name was Darrell Castle, Constitution Party. Because I read their platform, and their platform, I agree with their platform more than the Republican platform. But I'm a registered Republican and a conservative. I'm a conservative first, a Christian first, and I'm a conservative because of my research and study. And that's our story.
That's our story.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I think this is good. And hopefully there'll be more videos coming from the Robinson front. And we do have much more things we want to share. And we're just hoping that we can dialogue and have discussion without hate. We can have a discussion without, oh, I'm going to unfriend you on Facebook, or I'm not going to worship with you at church and get out of the choir, you know. And it's just really sad that here's my thing. I'm very upset about how Christians are jumping on the secular bandwagon and are being hateful toward Trump or hateful toward conservative. We as Christians should not hate at all.
Exactly.
At all. We may not agree with something someone's doing or what is being said, but we really should not hate. And I see a lot of that on Facebook. So as Christians, we have a higher call.
Yes.
We can see from both ends of the table, or both ends. And so we should apply our biblical beliefs to what is going on in our world today. So I'm hoping that we can be on one accord on some of these things and show forth the love of God in our hearts and toward the world.
Very good. And we'll certainly have more to say as time goes on. This won't be the last video, because I believe the Black conservative voice needs to get out.
Yes.
Al Sharpton doesn't speak for me.
Not at all.
Jesse Jackson, Dr. what's his name? Mark, whatever his name, Heal, whatever he comes on, Michael Dyson, and none of those people, Maxine Waters, certainly Louis Farrakhan, they do not speak for us. They are not the Black voice. Jay-Z and Beyonce are not the Black voice. We're not monolithic. We can speak for ourselves, and we thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.